Alright, and welcome to another YouTube live here. Ton of stuff happened within the markets since we last made our video yesterday. Huge dump down from Bitcoin as well as basically every single other alt. We'll go through some weird stuff that happened with Link hitting $0. Definitely some manipulation. I don't even know how that's possible, but we'll go over that within the crypto market updates. But for now, like always, we are going to start with BTC. But before we jump right in and dive into the price action, just want to go over the overall market conditions, looking at SPY, gold, and as well as some of the alts that we're going to be looking at here. So I'm going to get some coffee and then we'll discuss those. So as you can see, last night, gold also took a nosedive down, dropping from the previous open around 3.7-ish%. Now, to me, I like to look at gold as well as BTC to see if there is a correlation. Being able to be active in the markets every single day allows me to see the price action of the two and how they could be resembling each other in different market conditions. And right now, they took a nosedive at the exact same time. That's, to me, not coincidence. So it's not like BTC out of the blue is just dropping randomly. You see other safe haven assets like gold and silver plummet pretty aggressively to the downside as well. So the market as a whole is just absolutely dumping down. S&P dropped down and opened significantly lower, opening 7% down already, with the limit lock here already taken place, with the 7% down already, so they had to wait 15 minutes. So you see there's just a bloodbath in the markets through and through, even looking at what you would normally think would be going up in times of the S&P dropping, in times of uncertainty. You'd think that investors would be looking at potentially going into gold, but gold as well is taking a nosedive, dropping pretty significantly. So it's not just Bitcoin, but we will look at BTC first, but I think it will be interesting to see the comparison. We will do a TA on gold actually before we move on to the other alts, so we have a fresh memory of what happened and what we could be seeing from BTC, and then we'll also take a look at gold as well to get a good comparison of the two. So we'll start off with Bitcoin, and we'll start off with the weekly. We were holding this ascending green trend line for a while. Fortunately, we broke it on the Coinbase exchange, so we will definitely have to reassess. You know, we do have 3 days in a little bit until we have this weekly candle close, so it's not going to be 100% certain that we will be at these levels to hold, but as we can see, we're at the levels now. We're seeing a decent amount of sell pressure. Surprisingly, not as much as what we saw even in basically around mid 2019. We saw more sell pressure basically at the 14K than what we currently saw at the drop. But regardless, we do know that there is a significant shift due to that ascending trend line that's been respected multiple times breaking. At this point in time, obviously, we just had our massive push to the downside. Now, with pushes to the downside, you're not going to get the all the way back up to the $7,700, $7,800 zone, in my personal opinion. If we look at the weekly in different times where we had massive drops to the downside, we can see we got a massive drop, and then we consolidate for a bit, and then we continue to drop a little bit lower. I think we will see something similar to that, depending on, obviously, how the price action reacts, but we're not looking to short just yet. I think I'd like to see some level of a consolidation where we're able to have a potential ascending trend line that's holding the price, making higher lows. When that forms, that will give me a little bit more of an edge. But our current support that we're holding is basically right around 57, maybe 58, somewhere around there. As we can see, back in 2018, 2017, we were respecting that very well. and we finally got the price to close at those levels. We were initially thinking that when the price was below this zone, we were going to hit, but we did get rejected at the 65 zone, and then we just blew right past the $6,400 zone, and we are right at our low that we were holding around 2018, around 6K for a long time. So interesting to see the price there. I'm just explaining it and kind of giving commentary to what I am being able to view, because I'm thinking as well as to where it could go. I did not expect this to come through, to be completely honest. But hey, that's okay. Like, we were in a long trade. We managed our risk very well. We reduced it to a point where it was about half what we initially risked. So then that got stopped out. But at this point in time, we have no exposure to the markets, and we're looking for opportunities. Well, through trading, obviously, I have investments in BTC and other alts. Obviously, that's not favorable for the long-term investments, but I don't really care because I'm looking at years, not just multiple months. But I'd say this is the next level of support. If we break this zone, we have a couple. We have a mid-range minor zone. We have another minor zone right here. We do have a previous ceiling right around there. And yeah, there's a little poke out of that zone, but I would say that's the next key zone that we need to be looking at if the current 57-ish $100 level does not hold. So we got a couple ranges here. We got our current support that we're holding, which is around 5,700. Got our next level of support, which is around 4,200, and then we got our final level, which was the previous low, around $3,200. So right now we're just holding the first level of support here within our 3-tier support, and we're just going to assess the price action right now. We don't want to project too far of a bias into the future, but let's just talk about potential market structure here, because at the end of the day, that is what we're looking at for the larger time frames. So right now, we're making lower lows and lower highs, because this is a high, from this high, this is higher highs, and then we made a lower high. We held this high, but now we're going to make a lower high. So the market is still in a downtrend. Now, obviously, at that point right here, we were making higher highs and higher lows. But with this new dump, that confirms to me that obviously we're making a low, lower low, lower low, and lower low. So probably we're going to make some sort of lower high sooner or later, because we're still in a downtrend, it seems. Definitely thought it was going to be somewhat of a reversal here, playing in between these zones, but we did get a dump back down. So now we are probably going to be able to draw some descending trend line like so, and then descending zone. So in my view, that's kind of how the price is kind of looking right now, bouncing from resistance to support in a descending channel formation to some degree. We will go over the trend line that connects this high and then the descending zone to a new potential level of support of confluence that we will talk about on the CME futures. But we just want to talk about market structure right now, and that's all we're basically looking at for the weekly. So again, we'll put that trend line in there. I think that's what we're going to see, something like that. Some level of a support hold. I think we will get a level of reaction because we see such a strong key level right here. So we will see, I'm sure, some level of reaction at this zone. It's just a matter of if we are going to reject and push back up to test these zones, or if we're not going to be able to have that occur, and then the bears are still going to be in control, and we're going to consolidate something like this for a little while. So we'll see how it goes. If there is a consolidation, we'll obviously have to change our trade system a little bit. Not system, but we have to change our trade management strategies, because we wouldn't be making extensions of take profits. We'd be setting take profits at key levels of support and resistance. Compared to something like in an uptrend or downtrend, obviously you're able to extend those take profits a little bit more. So we'll see how the price reacts to this current level of support around $5,700. We do see that's a previous support in the past, so keeping that in mind, we will see how the price holds this level of support. If that breaks, major next level of support is going to be around the $4,200 level, and then our key level of resistance is around $7,600. So not going to go too much more into that on the weekly. Let's now go into the daily. So this is that descending trend line that I talked about a little bit before within the video. Let's now talk about the market structure within this chart as well. So we got all of 2008, the major bear market. We got our nice key zones. We got 4 zones here, well respected throughout the chart, especially the current one we're on right now. Look how well it's respected all throughout 2018. And then we are right at our confluence zone right now, where we have the horizontal zone. We also have this zone where we have the anchor point. We have 1, we have 2, we have a resistance turning into support, really validating this key zone. And then now we see the price respect this area yet again. We still have 5 hours on this daily candle to close, but it does look like it's holding our current confluence zone for a level of support. Makes sense. We'll just see if it's going to kind of consolidate and then form our consolidation at this zone, or if we're just going to dump back down and then test a potential another low here, and then we're going to continue the lower highs and lower lows. So we'll see the smaller price action. We don't want to make too much of a bias on the daily chart, but overall we do see that we are at a current level of support. Obviously the momentum is to the downside, but we do know that there is a potential level of confluence and a potential level of support. So we'll just see if we're stopping the lower lows and lower highs, and we're going to be forming a consolidation. That consolidation could be in a way of an ascending trend line, kind of like so. It doesn't have to be exactly horizontal for it to be a consolidation, but we're looking for something that is a pullback or an exhaustion move. Now it could be completely sideways like that. It could be a little bit up, so we're holding an ascending trend line. It could even be a little bit down, but overall we're looking for a consolidation that we're able to see that the price is taking a breath from the market after this massive move to the downside. So we'll now go to the smaller time frames. We have a good understanding of the overall daily and weekly chart. We are looking for some level of consolidation, which we are holding on the 1 hour for BTC. Obviously, we're in a major downtrend. Surprising amount of actual volume, meaning that there's not actually as much as I'd think compared to the move down. Look how far the price moved compared to the candles that are actually within the volume bars. And then looking at the historic volume, you can see that there's a lot of volume that has taken place that has more transactions than what occurred right here, which is surprising because I thought that a lot of buyers would be around this area because it's so well respected. I was also kind of seeing gold and the potential fundamental catalysts of the precious metals and BTC taking more buy pressure due to the coronavirus, due to the somewhat economic turmoil that is occurring within the markets. But obviously the investors are not running to BTC at this moment, as well as gold. But we'll see how it goes. We're just going to play the volatility like always. We are traders, and we are going to try to have an unbiased view of the price action. So basically that is done for the daily. You got to keep that in mind. We will draw it on the different daily charts that we do have on the different exchanges that we are going through. So that's just something to keep in mind. And then we're going to keep it very simple. We're going to strip a lot of the charts or the drawings that we have on the charts right now, and then keep it very clean. Just do major key levels of horizontal levels of support and resistance, and then maybe a couple trend lines just to maybe potentially draw this descending zone in again. Like we see here, it's a little bit messy, so we're going to clean it all up, remove all the drawings. I will go back and look at the weekly just for our key levels here, because right now we are in a descending zone, and I want to just draw in key levels. But at the end of the day, we don't want to go too far ahead of ourselves and front run, just like that, just so we have some nice key areas that we're working with. And then the next one is going to be down here. And I'm very happy with those ones right there. So that's the weekly. Let's jump to the daily. And then also we are going to be putting our descending trend line like so. And let's see where that goes. Let's actually look on the weekly as well to see where this is able to be anchored. I think that is actually a good spot for it. Gonna change this a little bit. Overall, I'm pretty happy with where it currently is. So definitely, obviously, we're well below it at this very moment. I think that's a better situation right there. So we'll see if it's able to retrace back up. Because if it is able to hold that zone, then that would look a little bit better. But if it's going to go below our descending zone, then obviously that doesn't look very favorable for the price of BTC. Are holding our level of support, but 64-ish would be the close that we would need on the daily for this chart in order for me to even think that there's any level of interest from the buyers. We also have a descending zone there. Obviously, that's not ideal, but I'm just trying to create some story in the chart that's able to provide me a little bit more value than what we currently have showing in the market here. Just looking at how the price action moved here, because we made a higher high on the daily chart, which is a pretty big fake out here for the buyers, because we got a fake out. I'm just going to blow my nose here real quick. So definitely lower lows, broke the high, failure of the high. So definite lower high potential at this point, because we just made a massive move to the downside. 8 hours on the daily. I think that would make sense to potentially have at least a daily close after such a aggressive candle to the downside. But overall, I think we're just going to be patient. There's no imminent need to be jumping in right now, in my personal opinion. Obviously, just talking trading, if you're an investor, dollar cost averaging at these levels is a phenomenal idea. Obviously, when there's blood on the streets, definitely not a bad idea to be buying, especially when BTC dropped 25% or something in a single day. Definitely worth, if you are an investor, dollar cost averaging at these lows. Not a whole lot more to talk about on the daily chart here. I don't really have too much more to give in terms of information. Very, very simple, keeping it very clean. We're at a key level of support. Obvious major bearish momentum to the downside here. The last level of support I thought we were able to hold was a $7,800 level. As you can see, it's a key level within the chart. But that clearly did not hold. I got to move down, and now we're testing this level of confluence here. But I'm going to be patient. I did not expect this move to happen, and I can be 100% transparent with that. I didn't short this move at all. So at this point, we're just going to see kind of what we're able to understand in terms of the consolidation, and that'll give us a lot of information regarding the potential direction of the next move. So overall, not going to talk too much more on the daily chart. Let's go to the Heiken Ashi daily chart as well, just to see the overall structure here on the BitMEX chart. Let's just start from scratch and then just draw our key zones here. So I think we did have a key zone. We don't really have information beyond this zone, so I'm just going to put our zone right here, and then I'm going to put our low of the reverse head and shoulders right around here. Not really too specific, but just so I know major zones, and I'm going to drop that a little bit lower. Also going to incorporate this descending zone as well. But just going to raise that up a little bit. just so it's a little bit more snug. So after that dump, yeah, I'm going to play it a little bit safe. I'm going to see how the consolidation is reacting. We can identify that we are at a support zone, but obviously we're not going to just enter long solely because we think that there's a support zone. We have to have confirmation, we have to have validation. And for shorts right now, in my opinion, we just had a massive dump to the downside. If we're looking for shorts, we need a consolidation. We need an ascending trend line or some price action pattern that is able to give us a little bit more edge in the market, to give us a price action structure that we're able to use to capture more profits to the downside if it does give it to us. But right now, I'm personally just going to be a little bit more patient because we got a massive move this morning, and I didn't expect that. So we're just going to wait and see what the market is able to do. So, like again, on the 4 hour, we'll just remove all the drawings and then start from a fresh chart on Bitfinex here. Let's just draw in our key zones like always. I'm going to go to the weekly just for my major zones within the chart. So I got my horizontal zones right here. And then I got my 6K-ish level of support. I got my other floor, ceiling right there in case. And then I got my next zone right around here. And then we'll go to the 4 hour. So we got our zones here, current zone of around 6150. Also, I will incorporate that descending zone that we have been using within the price action here. Oops, that wasn't nice and precise. There we go. So a lot of these zones are basically right at our zone of confluence, but like I said before, we're not looking to randomly enter. So if we do get a bounce and we make a potential lower high, obviously then there's a high probability of it bouncing back, potentially making a double bottom. So let's just talk about market structure really quickly here. So we made a massive move to the downside. We know that this area has very, very significant levels of transactions, of buy pressure, of this level of support here. So what we're looking for is some correction, some market breadth, because the market moves in waves. It makes impulse pushes to the downside, and it makes corrective exhaustion moves that are market breadths. And then it makes a push to the downside, and these are impulse pushes. Impulse pushes break key levels. Like we see, there's a strong level of support right here. If it pushes to the downside, that is an impulse push. We got an impulse push right here. This is a correction. Why is this an impulse push? It broke our key level of support. This is a correction, made a push to the downside, could not break it. This is exhaustion. This is a push to the downside because it broke our key level of support. So what we're looking for, we just had a massive impulse push to the downside. We're now looking for the corrective pullback. Hopefully that is going to make our lower high, because we see a high, we see a lower 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 high. Hopefully we're going to see some level of a lower high in confluence with the previous level of resistance or support. Now this would be ideal if we do have a descending zone right here, creating an additional level of dependability for this descending zone or this level of resistance. We'll see on the smaller time frames on the 1 hour, but overall that, in my opinion, is what we're looking for. Is a corrective move, a pullback, and then we're going to have another test, potentially making a double bottom if a little bit lower, and we're going to try to find out where this weakness is, where the sign of weakness is coming in, so we're going to have that potential double bottom play out. That is option number 1 that we will be looking out for. In that case, what are we looking for within the weakness? Well, ideally, we're going to have some level of an ascending trend line. We're going to have it respect multiple times, and then we're going to come to a point where we're not going to make any structural higher highs, where we're going to form double tops, triple tops, and then what we're going to be looking for is no demand candles, where there's a lack of demand coming in. When there's a lack of demand, we're potentially going to get a lower low. Once we start seeing lower highs and lower lows, holding resistances, breaking supports, then we have a good opportunity to be entering short once we have another potential no demand giving us a lack lack of demand, indicating that there is no real confidence from the buyers. So that is option number one that we would be looking for, is a pullback, exhaustion, and then we'll get another attempt to push down, and then we'll see how it reacts to this zone, because we've already hit it. And if we do get a pullback up to around the 67, 68, somewhere around there, we'll most likely get another test of this zone, creating a consolidation area or a failure to make a higher high, and then we'll try to attempt to at least test this low or break it. We'll see how it goes, but that is, in my opinion, option number one. Option number two is if we consolidate very, very tightly, and then we kind of go from a descending zone into a very tight consolidation where we're making very significant lows, and then we get a big bounce, and then we just kind of consolidate in a tight zone right here. At this point, what would we be looking for? We're looking for something similar that happened similar to here. We're looking for a support to hold around this zone like we see right here. And then if we're able to hold a nice descending zone like so, then we're getting a squeeze where we know that there is a lot of buy pressure within our current $5,800 level of support. And then once we get these lower highs to come in, if we get that to occur, well, then we're getting a squeeze. We know how to play squeezes, we know how to profit from squeezes, and that is what we're going to do. So we got a couple options here that the price is going to do after that massive move to the downside. We will want to stay patient, but we got a couple opportunities and a couple setups that we do have in mind if the price does show something worth trading in our opinion. So we'll now go to the 1 hour chart. I think what we're going to do is just leave this. I don't really want to make anything green or red. Make it kind of unbiased. Just very, very clean, simple, clear, concise charts that we're going to be working with for basically all of them here. So just want a quick look before we dive into the monthly here. Or sorry, the hourly, not the monthly. So stick to the hourly, remove all the drawings, go back to the daily, and then draw all our zones again, because we like to understand where our key zones are even on the smaller time frames. We might refine them a little bit, but at the end of the day, they are zones. They're not exact price areas within a chart, so we have to understand that. And that said, you still do want to make sure that they are reliable, they are dependable, and they are specific. They're not random kind of sort of areas. Like, you are putting them in areas that are actually zones of sensitivity, but you're not saying that it's one exact price. It's going to be a zone, a range, a space within the chart that either has buyers or sellers or both within a specific range. So something to keep in mind. So yet again, this zone has that exact same support area. And I think that's all we're going to put for our zone here. I don't want to complicate things too much. I want to keep it very simple because we got a zone of confluence there. We'll just see how it reacts, and that's kind of all what we're doing right now. So we got our zone there. We're seeing how the price reacts. And let's just look at the 15-minute. I think we already see an ascending trend line that could be forming here, which is going to be this guy right here. We'll see how it goes. Like I said before, if we are able to create an ascending trend line, that would be a really good situation for us to be in. And before we move on to the alts or gold, I will talk about the 2018 bear aggressive push that we had, and just discussing what this could potentially look like in terms of this consolidation, this push to the downside. Obviously, you can't exactly extrapolate the past and say it's going to happen in the future, but it's just good to know what happened in history, because obviously history doesn't exactly repeat itself, but it can often rhyme. So this is that ascending trend line, very unconfirmed. We only have two reactionary zones touching this area right now. We'd like to have at least 4 before we use it as a dependable zone. So if it does break, we would be potentially shorting. Let me just get some coffee here. So at the end of the day, let's just get our snip. So we're looking for this ascending trend line to hold. It might be a little bit steeper. We don't exactly know. It might be a little bit steeper like that. But overall, we are looking for some ascending trend line to hold. If it does break, let's say that's the case, and it holds and it holds. And if it does break, well, then there's a high probability of the price hitting our previous lows. Might not be a crazy move just in terms of the chart, but in actuality, it's a 11-12% move. So it's a significant push to the downside if we're able to break this zone. So that's option number one on the 15-minute chart that I would be looking for. Now, if it holds here, like so, well, then we could be looking for a potential short because we have one rejection, and then if we get another rejection like that, and if we get another rejection, and then if we break the ascending zone and then get a test on our zone of confluence where you have the ascending zone and horizontal zone, creating a higher dependability for sellers to be at a certain area, that could be another option where we could be shorting. So overall, we're mainly looking to short because we see the higher lows. You don't really see any lower highs coming in, squeezing the price. We don't really see any of that. We see more higher lows, which is a potential continuation pattern because like we said, push to the downside, pull back, push to the downside, pull back, push to the downside. This looks like a potential pullback. And in that said, we're going to quickly go over on, I think the 4-hour chart would be best, the major bear market we had in 2018 and discussing the pullback we had before probably one of the most aggressive moves to the downside that we've had in a long time, which is this guy right here. But this was in November of 2018, right? We saw a push to the downside, right? This was that 6K hold that we've been seeing. Let's go on the weekly here. So this is that move right here. We're looking right, let's get our arrow here. We're looking at this move right here. So we pushed down, we held for a little bit, and then we got a massive aggressive move to the downside. So this is that initial push down we held. It was the candle closure. We got some nice higher lows. Let's get our trend line. We got some nice higher lows like so. You know, it's not perfect like so if you could put that there, but I think a better option would be to put it something like this. But we got some nice higher lows. Once it cracked, look at that massive move. It was basically a straight line from point A to point B without any real hesitation whatsoever. So looking at this, looking at the move down, the pullback, and then the next leg to the downside, and then looking at where we currently are right now, obviously there is going to be definitely some similarities that you can see. Let's just go like this, like that, like that, and like that. So we can see there's a lot of similarities here, right? There is the move to the downside, exact same thing, right? And then now we're getting a consolidation where now we're going to be forming these higher lows, higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low. And what we're looking for is weak buy volume. Look how weak that buy volume is, right? And then once you see the crack, once you see the momentum start to shift and the increasing sell volume, well, then you know what to do. This is the last zone here, that support. Once it cracks, all hell breaks loose to the downside. And then the $5,900, $5,800 zone is going to be that support for the current price of BTC. So this is something that we have to keep in mind. It's not something that I'm going to say it's 100% going to happen, but you see the similarities that we're having here with the massive move to the downside. The momentum is very, very bearish. Same with our current situation. Momentum is very, very bearish. We're currently potentially seeing an ascending trend line. You can see this is respected once, twice, 3, 4, 5. So it's a dependable zone. More than 4 touches is a dependable zone. Right now, when we have 2 touches of our current ascending trend line, so if we get 2 more touches, making 4 in total, well then, you know, looking at history, we could see something like this. We don't exactly know. You think like, oh, it could never do that. It's 5K, 5,700 is already so low. But you can't ever project a bias onto any asset. Ever, right? You don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen. No one truly knows what's going to happen in the future. I didn't know that this massive dump was going to happen. And it's just all about finding the best possible opportunities and finding high probability situations. It doesn't matter if it's to the upside or downside. All it is looking for high probability situations within the market that we're able to capture volatility on. So that is our job as a trader, is be patient, be disciplined, stick to our rules, and execute exactly what we're wanting to execute every single day in the markets, and that's all we're looking to do. Money will come if you're able to execute with a solid strategy. So that's basically the overall analysis on BTC. I think I will keep it on the 15-minute chart with the structure of November 2018 in mind, which is that bearish move, the pullback, and then another bearish move to the downside. So we will see how it reacts at these zones. You know, if it does break this zone, if it does actually do something similar to what we saw in November of 2018, what we saw, this is that zone that we were talking about, this little right thing right here, breaking key level right here, and then obviously massive dump to the downside. Now, we're not in the similar situation, like coming off of the 2017 massive bull market, and then we needed to correct. So, you know, we are in a different position, but just looking at how ascending trend lines form great consolidations for short opportunities, we can see that if the similar sort of price action pattern does appear within our current structure, we could find a good opportunity. That doesn't mean that we're going to be shorting all the way down here. It could mean it's a quick, like I said, 10-15% move to the low, making a 9-10% take profit. If you're risking 2-3%, a risk reward of 3, 4, even 2.5 is still a very solid risk reward. So that is an opportunity that we could be seeing for BTC. That's basically my analysis. I'm not going to dive too much more into it. I want to keep it simple and clean and effective and actionable in case there are things happening in the market that we could capitalize on. So we will now go into the tools that we're going to be using. This is going to be an interesting one. I haven't seen what happened yet. Wow, massive dump from the buyers here. So what I'm going to do is just zoom out a little bit, or maybe I'm just take this away. So we can see here that there was a strong level of resistance that the bulls were unable to get above right around here. Not perfect. That was a really bad line. That's a little bit better of a line. We see resistance, like all here, key level of resistance, and then we broke above it, held it for a support, and now it looks like we're breaking back into the zone. So in terms of the buyers, they're definitely losing confidence, because the confidence was gained after breaking the zone, obviously, because it's been holding for so long. And then we got a lot of volatility, a lot of people opening up margin positions for longs. And then we got our pullback. We got our next wave of buyers to enter the market. And then we got our pullback. And now, after that dump, there's a lot of hesitation, a lot of uncertainty, a very significant lack of confidence from the bulls able to push the price up. So looking at just the supply and demand, or just looking at the demand, sorry, this is no supply, this is just looking at the level of demand on the Bitfinex chart for BTC positions that are opened on margin, there is a very, very limited amount of people that are really opening positions on margin on Bitfinex at all. It broke a key level of resistance within the demand chart that we're able to see here. So if we are going to be playing back within this range here, it's not going to be looking phenomenal. So, you know, there is some positive. That means if it does go back up, and if there's a lot of people, or if the positions are all within this range, and then we see short sellers start to come into the market and getting a little bit more aggressive moves, then it could be a possible short squeeze. But at this point in time, the buyers really don't have any real interest, it seems like, on the Bitfinex chart. Now incorporating the shorts, let's go like this. There we go. That's a good way to illustrate it with our two zones here. So the shorts have it on the opposite sides, where we were holding a key level of support, and then it broke, and then the confidence for the shorts really fell through the roof here after the middle of 2019, after BTC hit 13, 14K, there was a massive short squeeze and a lot of the shorts got out. As we can see, there was a huge shift from support to resistance. As you can see, major level of support, new level of resistance, not being able to make a higher high. We're still not able to make a higher high. We're still able to hold this level of resistance, as we can see. So we're not completely gone yet. This could just be potential a longer hold, like we can see. So we're not completely out of the woods in terms of total bearish confidence in the market, but there definitely is more strength coming in, higher highs and higher lows from the sellers, lower lows and lower highs from the buyers. So the supply, the amount of traders who are opening up shorts on Bitfinex on margin are increasing, and the amount of people that are opening up long positions on Bitfinex on margin is decreasing. So obviously, more people are looking to gain exposure to the short side, which just obviously will just drive the price down further because it's just market psychology. So on the flip side, this does mean that if we do get a push to the upside, there is a strong chance for a short squeeze. There's a lot of people shorting. There's a lot of people with exposure to the downside, meaning if we do get a move to the upside, they have to get out of the market. They have to take the loss. They're not going to hold forever because BTC obviously can moon and shoot up, like we can see, like a 40% move from 75 to 10K. It can happen, and people know that. So when they're shorting, they're going to get out. So if we do see a move for the upside, there's a possible that we could get a short squeeze, which could mean that there could be a possible parabolic move if we get a lot of momentum to the upside. If there's no momentum, there's no chance of any real short squeeze, obviously, because the sellers have control. But there's only an option if we start to see a huge shift in the buyers taking back control, taking back momentum, taking back the confidence, and gaining conviction to buy the market. Only real option for short squeeze in that case. The last thing we're going to be looking at is the coin farm margin trades that are open for the different exchanges. Just letting it load here. Give us one moment. So let's just go over the questions here while this is loading. I got 3 questions from YouTube, or 3 statements, I guess. Drake Wheeler, profit taken. Let's go. Do you remember when I told you shorted from 10.4 and take profit was 6K? This is my best trade ever so far. Feeling good. That's awesome, Drake. Congratulations for your phenomenal short. I commend you for holding that long. There was a lot of upswings and downswings and all that. So congratulations. That's awesome. The mid 6K zone should paint a better picture of the price action. Yeah, I think so. The middle 6K zone. I think you're talking. Let's just zoom out here. So 65 around there is, I think, where you're looking. Yeah, that's a previous level of support right here. We'll see where the price goes. Right now, we're just kind of holding a consolidation. So, yo, this is very, very weird. I have notifications on for you, though. YouTube, I never get alerted when you go live. Yeah, other people have been saying that as well. I don't really know if YouTube just is shadow banning people who are in crypto because like they've done that in the past. I'll talk with the team. If that's the case, I don't really know what else to do per se. I guess I could notify every single person on Discord who's on just by going at here. But at this point in time, I just kind of start live and then post it after. So it's weird. It's not really seeming to want to load right now. The normal BTC longs and shorts for the different exchanges. So we'll skip that one today. Unfortunately, I guess it's not really working. We're not really sure why, but we'll skip that one. We went over the longs and shorts and discussed the possibilities of short squeeze if it does move up and how the sellers still have strong control of the market. So not really going to dive too much more into the price of BTC. Let's just go on the 4-hour to where we currently are and then stick on the 15-minute chart. So that was the analysis for Bitcoin. We will look at gold as well because gold did take a nosedive within the exact same time frame. So we will see how it reacts. Going to quickly look at the questions coming in here. Yeah, No Luck is saying there's an ascending triangle. Yeah, so we will see how it goes. But now let's look at gold, and we're going to compare the price action of gold to BTC, not in direct relation, but just seeing can't come in sooner. But massive swings in both directions here. I did see it disconnected for one moment, and it reconnected there. So going from the weekly, just talking about the major structural support that we're currently holding of around, let's say, 1550. So that is currently the support of gold that we're seeing right now, and it has been the support basically from 2011 all the way through to 2013. It has been a strong level of support, and we're still at that zone right now. Previous level of resistance, strong level of support. So in terms of gold's price action, it's looking favorable. The market structure is still making strong higher highs and higher lows on the weekly. It's still holding supports, breaking resistances, and overall it's looking favorable for the bulls. Now if it does break the 1550 range, that will be a little bit worrying for the bulls, because that's a very significant zone of support on the chart. But overall, it's not looking too bad. And looking at the daily now, we did talk about that immense volatility that we've been having recently. And there's that volatility right there. Massive move to the upside, dump back down. Same thing, push right back up to the zone to retest that high. And then we get a second failure, bringing the price back down to our support that we're currently holding. So gold is at a support, which is nice. BTC is not really at an ideal support as much as gold, in my opinion. It is like the 6K 60 or $5,800 zone is a pretty important zone of support on BTC, but it's obviously not making higher highs and higher lows on the daily and weekly like gold is. So gold is looking a lot stronger, in my personal opinion. It's at a major level of support, which is nice. So I will be looking at gold as well, just to see how it's reacting to. There's so many things that are happening within the different economies around the globe. A lot of uncertainty, a lot of volatility, not just in terms of the stocks, but even in crypto, commodities, obviously with oil prices and different indexes around the world. There's a lot of volatility, so it will be interesting to see how gold reacts kind of in the near future here. So that's my overall analysis for gold. I just wanted to do that. Normally we don't do gold, but because of the volatility, we're not going to dive too far into it. Like we could go into the 4-hour and really jump into the smaller time frames, but we're just at our current level of support right here. Not too much to talk about. We'll see how the price reacts to these zones. If gold's able to hold the support, maybe BTC will be able to hold our 5,800 level of support. We'll see how the correlation is. We both took a dive. BTC and gold just took a dive. Very, very similar in terms of the direction and the aggressiveness. So we're both holding right now. So we'll see how Bitcoin and gold both are going to react after that move to the downside. So that's the analysis. I'm going to get a little bit of water here. Or I guess I don't have my water bottle. So that's analysis for BTC. We went over gold as well. So we'll now go over the different alts within the market. Starting off, we'll start off with Link. There's some crazy shit that happened with Link. It basically went to zero. Like the price went to zero, which I don't even know how that's even possible. Something happened like that on the BitMEX exchange, I think with XRP. But Link on Binance did the same thing, which is pretty crazy. So we'll look at that right now. Look at this shit. On the weekly, you think, oh wow, that's the low, 40 cents. It goes and goes and goes to basically $0.001. I don't even know how this is possible. It's manipulation of some sorts, but I just don't understand how there could be absolutely no buyers on a pair that is trading some million US tether a day. It just, I understand the theory behind it, but the actual thought of not a single buyer within this range, to me, is crazy. And that means if the price went there, that means that someone exchanged Link at that level, or else it wouldn't have gone there. So there's people who sold or bought Link at these lows here. Someone did it, right? Because someone had to make that transaction. The price wouldn't have gone there if it didn't make that transaction. So this means someone in the world made fucking millions of percents, right? Because from something to go from less than a cent, less than 0.1 cents to $2.50, that is nuts. Fathom that. You can get the entire appreciation of Bitcoin if, hypothetically, you were that hypothetical limit if you were in that perfect position, perfect time, if you, somehow placed a market order, if you had bought something that you were able to buy these prices at these lows, you made more in a single 4-hour day time frame than people spent holding Bitcoin for 8 years. Crazy shit. But yeah, I am blown away. I am flabbergasted. It's crazy. And I have only seen this with XRP, but BitMEX is an exchange that doesn't surprise me if that happens, because obviously BitMEX is a little bit sketchy. It has liquidity issues if you are short-term trading. If there's a lot of aggressive moves either to the upside or downside, it's hard to get liquidity, it's hard to get filled, it's hard to get entered or taken out of the market. But Binance is to me a very reliable exchange that wouldn't see something like this occur, but obviously it has. So it's just something to keep in mind. This is another reason why you don't be an idiot and just set market orders randomly, because let's say you wanted to sell, you theoretically could have sold all down there if you had a market order, and if it was just bad point, bad time, shit luck, you could have had that happen, and basically you could have sold your capital for basically nothing. So very, very important that you try to stick to limit orders when you can, but pretty fucking nuts here. Let's just draw in some trend lines. Potential, not really. Would have liked to seen potentially some higher lows and a closure there. We don't really see that right now, so I'm not really going to draw anything on the weekly in that regard. I will draw this zone right here, which is a key level of resistance. Got a key level of support right there, and I'll just draw in that one resistance. And then we do have a mid-range zone. We'll draw in that mid-range zone on the daily chart. I obviously will be trading Link for a long time, but I will be looking at that, remembering this day, talking about it for as long as I'm going to be talking about Link. Because that's crazy. That's, yeah, so Mitch says, if my math is right, if you bought $100 of Link at 0.001, then it would be worth $25K if at the price right now. Yeah, that's fucking nuts. Yes, I don't know what to say to that. Yeah, markets are crazy, man. Very, very, very crazy time to be alive at this moment. So we got a mid-range zone. What I will do is just drop this down a little bit, and then I will make this into a major demand area, because as we can see, key structural support that we're holding around the $59, $60 range, as we can see, key level of support multiple times. So we're currently below our structure. Let's just talk about market structure here on Chainlink. So we're kind of going sideways at this point in time, very, very distorted. So the main level of support that I'm looking at is going to be around $1.70 to $1.50 right now. that we're currently holding. So that's going to be the key level of support that we currently have. We're now below our major resistance, which is currently going to be around, let's say, $3.20 or 10 cents. Rejection, 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 rejection. We did get a fake out at this point right here, but as we can see, this supply zone did inevitably come back and push the price back down, and then rejection, rejection before the price moved back up. So we're now below our zone here. So if the price does come back and test this resistance, we will want to see sell pressure at that zone. And then if we are able to get a nice possible entry here, we have a long way to go before our next major level of support. So that's how I'm viewing the market. We got a failure to the upside where we got a double top trying to break the high. We could not break it. This was that previous all-time high. Theoretically, yes, we did break it with the candles, but we did not get a break with the candle body. We rejected twice, 2 rejections. We broke our level of support right here, and then we got a massive dump to the downside. Now we're below our major structural level mid-range zone within the price action, within the consolidation. We see that right now. So now we're looking at the zone for a level of resistance. So now that we talked about the daily, we'll jump to the 4-hour, and we can see that we're already getting rejections from the sellers at this zone right here. So in my opinion, it's a little bit too early to just jump right in. Not enough has formed in my opinion, but let's just jump right into the 1 hour here. The main thing we wanted to discuss is just the overall structure on the daily. We could incorporate this descending zone kind of like so. I think we can incorporate that a little bit higher, but obviously we got a long time before this zone really gets touched or affected in any way whatsoever. So mainly we're just looking to see the price kind of start its consolidation, start its formation of a resistance where the price currently is, and then we're looking for that next dump to the downside potentially. So let's talk about market structure. So we know that we already talked about there's a lot of sellers potentially coming around this zone. We don't want to assume that, we want to see that. So we want validation around this zone that there's going to be sellers. We're looking for shorts because obviously the momentum is to the downside. We just broke our major structural resistance or support right here, which is now our resistance. So what we're looking for is we're now getting higher highs and higher lows. We're looking for a top to form where we're not getting market structure higher highs. We're holding a level where we're not making any higher highs. That's number one. Number two, we're looking for some ascending trend line, something that's squeezing the price towards the apex of the pattern. Number two, if that breaks, that is going to be price action. So we got market structure and price action. Number three, we're looking for VSA. We're looking for no demand candles when it's trying to push up. We're looking for bearish engulfing candles with strong bearish volume on the way down. We're looking for a reduction in buy volume, an increase in sell volume. We're looking for volume distribution within our consolidation with the price action turning, with the price action, with the market structure. We're looking for that nice trifecta that's going to give us a high probability of being right. So overall, that's what we're looking for, something along the lines of that. Maybe we'll hit this zone. We don't exactly know. I'd like to see the price respect our current level of resistance at least twice, 3 times. Ideally, that would be a good opportunity. Maybe an ascending trend line, maybe a sideways consolidation, maybe even an ascending channel or bearish flag. We're looking for some consolidation. We're looking for a price action pattern, and we don't really see it right now, but we are on the hunt. So not a whole lot more to talk about on Link. Let's just go to the 15-minute here. So we see 1, 2, that resist. So we could just drop this a little bit further like so. I'm just going to leave it where it was. But we see an ascending zone right here on the 15-minute. Oops, that just moved. Let's get this zone unconfirmed because we only have 1 and then 2, so we don't really have a zone yet. But this is somewhat what we're looking for. And then if we're able to see that resistance hold the price below a zone multiple times, well, then that gives us confirmation that there's sellers within the area. But that's the overall outlook on Link right now. So we'll notify all of the students if we are entering any positions right now. But that's basically what I'm going to be looking out for. I'm not going to be looking for any longs at this moment. Obviously, the entire market is just bearish. Everything's moving down. So let's just trade the momentum and not try to I guess, assume that there's a strong level of support. There is, but obviously with that massive move to the downside, very bearish, massive fear in the market. And dollar cost averaging, great time. But for traders, we got to be really cautious, because with volatility comes possible higher profits, obviously, but then it also comes with potential higher losses because the price is just going to move that much more aggressive. But if you just lower your position size and increase the amount for your stop loss and take profits, then everything's basically good to go. So now moving on, XRP USD made another lower low. So on this chart, it's the lowest low that we've ever seen. Let's just take out some of the smaller stuff here. So there is just a clean chart that we're able to understand. We got our previous support, which is now our new resistance. Crazy stuff here. Oops, don't need that. In terms of market structure, let's just potentially draw some descending zones to potentially draw support here, but we see that the current resistance is around 30 cents. That's the major level resistance that XRP is currently holding. We just made a market structure lower low, so we could be seeing a lower high, maybe testing the previous support at around 1840 as a new resistance. But I'm just going to potentially draw a trend line here, because we do see a trend line getting respected to some degree, like so, but you know, you see one anchor point, and then we see 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is our fifth reaction. We see a first, and then we see 1, and then we see 2. This is a type C, not super respected. This is a type A, very well respected. Type A for the anchor, very well respected. And then a type A again, well respected. And then a type C, and then 2 type A's. And this is now going to be a type C. So not ideal, but it does show some level of support at that zone. Now going to the daily chart. Not really loving XRP completely for real any trades at this moment, because it's kind of mid-range at a zone. Going to the 4 hour, we see we bounce pretty well perfectly at that zone with not a perfect type B, but a pretty decent, if we just move it up a little bit, it'd be a type B. And now we're just consolidating on the 4 hour, so nothing crazy to see here. If we form a continuation pattern on XRP as well, if we form an ascending trend line forming a nice zone that we can short off of, then obviously we will be looking for that as well. So if we just draw that in right here, so that's, like I said, an opportunity. So I will let all the Performante Premium members know if this is an opportunity I will be taking, because this is an ascending trend line that could be a potential opportunity for a short if it does break the ascending support zone. So we'll see how it goes. I'm not going to be jumping, trying to gain exposure right away. I want to be a little bit patient. I want to see where the price action goes. I want to see the overall structure of the market in terms of the different alts, looking for different stuff. But right now, that is the possibility of a potential another move to the downside, testing these lows. And it might not look like much on the 15-minute, but you know, these trades, because it's so volatile, can yield double-digit percentages while relatively managing risk. If you're risking 2-3%, and if you're able to make 10-12% or even 14%, that's a great risk reward, and it's something that people should be looking at for, you know, risk rewards if you're looking to take it. So there is opportunity for another short to retest these zones for a lot of these alts, in my opinion. Link is looking